Action.
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 Action in China. Action in China. Action in China.
Coming up, China and Greece have signed a series of memorandum of understanding to promote bilateral economic cooperation in key sectors. BMW has issued recalls for about 1 million vehicles in North America. Hello and welcome to this edition of Economy Report. I'm Guo in Beijing. U.S. economy reported a record low unemployment rate in October as impact from hurricanes wane.
According to Labor Department on Friday, the total non-farm payroll employment rose by 261,000 in October, after an adjusted increase of 18,000 in September. Employment in food services and drinking places increased sharply, mostly offsetting a decline in September that largely reflected the impact of Hurricanes Irma and Harvey. As more people obtained jobs, the unemployment rate dropped to 4.1% in October from 4.2% in September. The solid job growth is expected to support the Federal Reserve to continue to raise interest rates. Market investors now widely expected the central bank to hike interest rates in September. However, Friday's job report also points to the weakness of the U.S. job market. The labor force participation rate, which shows the share of working-age people in the labor force, went down 0.4 percentage point to 62.7% in October.
U.S. non-manufacturing activity continues faster expansion in October, signaling robust growth of the economy in the month.
According to a latest survey, the non-manufacturing index, or the NMI, which measures activity in the U.S. service sector, rose 0.3 percentage point to 60.1 in October, the fastest growth since August 2005. The NMI survey covers all sectors outside of manufacturing. A reading above 50 indicates expansion of the service sector. The business activity index went up 0.9 point to 62.2. The new orders component of the index, a signal of future business, went down 0.2 point to 62.8. And the employment index also increased 0.7 point to 57.5. Of the 18 industries tracked by the NMI, 16 industries reported growth, while only educational service and arts and entertainment industries reported contraction. Respondent comments continue to indicate a positive outlook for business conditions and the economy as entering in the fourth quarter. A separate report showed U.S. manufacturing activity continued steady expansion in October despite at a slower pace.
Nye said the U.S.-China relationship over the past 5 years has been more positive than negative. Nye said for the whole world it is also a win when a powerful country and a rising power cooperate, highlighting U.S.-China cooperation in producing public goods.
Those are good for China, they're good for the U.S., but they're also good for other countries. So in terms of producing public goods or global public goods, that's win-win for everybody.
Earlier this year, Beijing rolled out the red carpet with thousands of delegates, including more than 24 heads of state and government, attending the inaugural Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation. Nye said the Belt and Road Initiative can be a global public good builder if China uses its finances to create infrastructure which everybody can benefit. According to the scholar, the United States should cooperate with China on the initiative. China and Greece have signed a series of memorandum of understanding to promote bilateral economic cooperation in key sectors under the 2017-2019 Greece-China Action Plan.
On Thursday, the two sides specified details of cooperation projects included in the 3-year action plan and witnessed the signing of several MOUs, which are expected to further boost bilateral ties.
Today, we have the first tangible results. The signing of a series of agreements and a memorandum of understandings are the first steps in the implementation of this action plan. Therefore, we are on the right path.
Xi Zhening, National Development and Reform Commission Vice President, said he is happy to see the action plan has provided a good collaboration platform and some initial tangible results have been achieved. The plan was sealed in May this year in Beijing during a visit of Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras.
China's central bank governor has called for more reform and opening up of the country's financial sector, including reducing market intervention and relaxing foreign exchange controls. Zhou Xiaochuan made remarks in an article included in the book published as the guidance in studying the report delivered at the 19th National Congress of the Communist Party of China. Zhou wrote, China should develop equity financing in an active and orderly manner and steadily increase the share of direct financing. He said the channels of equity financing should be expanded, the mechanism of stock offering should be overhauled, while intervention in market prices and indices should be reduced. Zhou wrote of helping companies reduce leverage and removing zombie firms from the market through debt-to-equity swaps and support for private equity investment. Moreover, he called for deepening reform of the yuan's exchange rate formation mechanism, lessening forex controls, pushing the yuan to become an international currency, and steadily realizing convertibility under the capital account. China's largest trade fair has concluded its 122nd session in Guangdong province, with more foreign buyers and more deals.
Export turnover reached $30.1 billion, up 8.2% year-on-year. According to fair spokesman Xu Bing, a total of 191,950 buyers from 213 countries and regions attended the fair, up by 3.4%. Xu said over 60% of industries saw an increase in deals.
Exhibitors today more than ever valued innovation the most. We are so happy to see more high-tech, high value-added and green products this year. Meanwhile, turnover of these exhibitors reached $10.8 billion, up 30.6% year-on-year.
Additionally, export turnover with Belt and Road countries continued a solid performance. Buyers and turnover from these countries increased higher than the total growth.
Export turnover to the Belt and Road countries reached $9.37 billion, up 30.6% year-on-year, and accounted for about 31.3% of the total. And we saw huge potential and strong demand in areas like building materials, large machinery and equipment, household appliances, textiles and apparel, and food.
The China Import and Export Fair, known as the Canton Fair, is held every spring and autumn in Guangzhou. It is widely seen as a barometer of China's exports.
Turkey's annual inflation rate hit a 9-year high of 11.9% in October.
The figure climbed from 11.2% in September. The Turkish Statistical Institute said the rise was mainly driven by a sharp increase in transportation, clothing, and food prices. The central bank on Wednesday lifted its annual inflation forecast for this year from 8.7% to 9.8%. The bank vowed to maintain a tight monetary policy until the inflation outlook improves in line with targets.
Book prices have soared at the 22nd International Book Fair of Algiers amid the financial crisis the country is suffering. A Time report has more.
Almost 1 million visitors has visited the book fair, which is considered one of the most important cultural events in Africa and the Arab world. But due to high prices of books, many visitors cannot afford their preferable books.
Actually, there was a slight fall in the sales compared with previous fairs due to book prices hike. The main cause of the price hike is a price hike of all materials used in the process of publishing books, in addition to the devaluation of the dinar this year. The price of books soared, and this is a fact, but the Association of Algerian Publishers have decided to offer a discount from 45% to 50%.
As many as 638 foreign publishers are exhibiting their books at the fair, including those from South Africa, China, Russia, and India. Algeria is hit by a financial crisis due to the decline of crude oil prices in global markets and the erosion of local exchange reserves.
Let's head on to some company news. BMW has issued recalls for about 1 million vehicles in North America.
One recall affects BMW 3 Series models from 2006 to 2011, which it says contain wiring that causes overheat. The other recall involves a faulty valve heater installed in some 2007 to 2011 models. Dealers will replace the faulty equipment for free. The firm expects to notify owners in December. Notifications said each problem potentially affects about 700,000 vehicles. However, BMW says the final tally is likely to be less than 1.4 million due to overlaps. Most of the cars were sold in the U.S. The firm did not say whether a recall could affect cars outside of North America. U.S. multinational aircraft giant Boeing has its eyes on more deals in China. Boeing said China, currently the second largest market in the world, will rank the first over the next 10 years. Boeing anticipates a huge commercial demand from China for passenger aircraft in the future. According to Boeing's 2017 China Current Market Outlook, China will need to purchase more than 7,240 new airplanes, valued at $1.1 trillion over the next 20 years. Boeing delivered 168 airplanes to Chinese customers in 2016 alone, which was valued at approximately $16.1 billion. Chrysler will recall about 148,000 vehicles in the Chinese mainland because a possible short circuit could disable the airbags and seatbelt. The important Compass and Patriot models were manufactured between August 17, 2009 and August 20, 2014. Chrysler said an electrical short circuit could occur in the occupant restraint control module when collisions happen. Starting from Monday, the company will replace the faulty components free of charge.
U.S. President Donald Trump will pay a state visit to China from November 8th to 10th. Ahead of the visit, our CNC correspondent has sat down with Stephen Orlins, president of the National Committee on U.S.-China Relations, to talk about the economic cooperation between the two countries.
So President Trump has proposed a $1 trillion investment plan, but so far many details have not been decided yet. So do you see any opportunities for Chinese companies to invest in U.S. infrastructure?
I think there are enormous opportunities for Chinese companies to invest in U.S. infrastructure. I think President Trump's announcement of $1 trillion has been followed up with a list of 50 of the priority projects. So I think Chinese companies should go and analyze each of these 50 projects to figure out which ones make sense for them. What's happened over the last 20 years is as China has made these enormous investments in their infrastructure and rebuilt China, or built China, whether it's trains, bridges, tunnels, roads, power plants, you name it. China has developed extraordinary expertise and technology in building infrastructure. Some of that is applicable to the United States. So if you combine this technology, that is this knowledge of how to do it, and in some cases, in the case of railway, a technology that is unique in the world, the high-speed rail, and you combine it with the $3 trillion of reserves that China has, China both has the capital and the technology to make these investments. What it needs to figure out, what these companies need to figure out, is the United States will not allow China to bring in thousands of workers. It will allow it to bring in some workers, but predominantly they're going to have to use U.S. workers. So the key to this investment is how can they do these projects with Chinese capital, Chinese technology, but predominantly using U.S. workers. I see up in the New York area, China Construction America, which is a subsidiary of China State Construction and Engineering Company, publicly listed state-owned enterprises, has been able to win infrastructure projects in the New York area and using some Chinese workers, management, but predominantly U.S. workers. So that could be a model. There are also PPP, public-private partnerships opportunities for Chinese companies. But it has to be done by coming to the United States, understanding the project, and making the investment. You can't do it from Beijing. Just as in my early days when I went and invested in China, I lived in China. I went and looked at these projects on the ground. We didn't do it from New York or San Francisco or Chicago.
I look forward to see how that pattern of cooperation works out. And as part of the U.S.-China 100-day action plan, China agreed to increase access for U.S. financial firms in some areas, including credit rating services and electronic payment services. And the Chinese Central Bank Governor Zhou Xiaochuan has recently signaled in an interview that there would be more opening up and reforms after the 19th CPC Party Congress. So what's your expectation of China's financial reform and opening up after the CPC?
I think China's financial opening is beneficial to the Chinese people. The only group that wins when China does not open financial services to foreign investment are the people who are protected. The losers are every company, the people of China who have restricted choice and lower quality products. It's perfectly sensible for China to open these. China should be opening its capital market to foreign firms. You know, when we look at the success of London, the success of Hong Kong, their successes were based upon opening to foreign firms, opening to Goldman Sachs, opening to Citibank, opening to these, because America, in terms of financial services, is the premier country in the world, that our financial services are terrific. So I hope that China allows U.S. companies in to underwrite bonds, to underwrite stocks, to create financial instruments that help companies and help the Chinese people, give them more choice, higher quality products, ability to invest globally. So my hope, and I think the Chinese financial regulators agree with me, is that we see after the 19th Party Congress a quickening of the pace of financial liberalization in the financial services, in investment banking, in insurance, and in other areas. Because the losers, when this does not occur, are the Chinese people.
But there have been some trade issues between the U.S. and China, and the business community in the two countries have called for the two governments to resume negotiations on a bilateral investment treaty. So do you think that would be discussed during President Trump's visit this time?
I hope so. I think a bilateral investment treaty is what the Chinese love to call the classical win-win, that everyone wins from a bilateral investment treaty, that we're beginning to see some restrictions on Chinese investment in the United States. So a bilateral investment treaty would certainly give Chinese companies confidence that they could continue to invest in the United States. I think the U.S. companies, all foreign companies, are deeply concerned about industries and sectors in China where they're prevented from investing or they're capped at the investing. So whether it's healthcare services or insurance or hospital management, you name it, you can find areas where a Chinese company could come into the United States and invest, but U.S. companies couldn't invest in China. So what a bilateral investment treaty would do would be open a number of sectors to American companies in China, things that are job creating in America. But I argue that making sure America remains open to Chinese investment is job creating in the United States. That when Chinese invest, it's good. It either preserves or creates jobs in the United States. Our report from 2016 on Chinese investment in the United States stated that there are 140,000 Americans that now are on Chinese payrolls in the United States. 140,000 Americans work for Chinese invested companies. Let it become 1.4 million. That would be a good thing.
Exactly. So the Trump administration has recently launched the so-called Section 301 investigation against China, which triggered concerns about trade conflict between the two countries. So, how do you think that the two governments should work together to deal with this issue while still keeping a healthy and stable economic
I think
relationship?
the results of the investigation should be shared with the Chinese government, and they should enter into discussions as to how to resolve those issues. You know, the investigation is an investigation. We have to see what the results of the investigation are. Then the two governments should discuss how they can resolve these issues, and then if the issues can't be resolved, then the Trump administration will need to decide what remedies should be sought.
So, what outcome do you expect the most after Trump's visit this time?
Market opening. I think that the Chinese will announce certain sectors where the market is further opened, and the winner of that obviously will be U.S. businesses, but more importantly the Chinese consumer and Chinese businesses who get things at better prices and higher quality. That we have to, people see this as a zero-sum game. It is not. It's when you open a sector, it creates more competition, it creates more product choice, it creates lower prices. That's good for the consumer, it's good for businesses who are buying those goods.
Okay, and the Trump administration has rejected calling China a currency manipulator. So could you tell us the reason why he said that?
Because China's not a currency manipulator. China hasn't been a currency manipulator for more than a decade. I mean, it was a campaign promise which had virtually no basis in economic reality. China has been propping up its currency, not depreciating its currency. It spent hundreds of billions of dollars propping up its currency, and that's the opposite of what a currency manipulator is. A currency manipulator is depreciating its currency in order to get trade advantage, and that is not what China has been doing. So it made perfect sense that President Trump decided not to brand China a currency manipulator.
So do you think the Trump administration said that in exchange for something in Trump's visit?
I think he was well, it was done quite early on, and I think it was recognizing reality and trying to create a positive atmosphere in U.S.-China relations. I think President Xi's visit to Mar-a-Lago created just such a positive atmosphere. So I think that's what he was looking to do, rather than a specific trade concession.
And that's all for this edition of Economy Report. For more news and highlights, you can also find out more at our website, en.cncnews.cn. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.
云天无际，承载梦想。中国南方航空是中国运输飞机最多、航线网络最发达、年客运量最大的航空公司。亚洲第一，全球第三，是南航缔造的业界奇迹。蓝天壮志情，云海谱华章。
同心地产，芝加哥最大的华人中介团队，无论是家居或是商业地产，给你带来全方位的最佳服务。
专业的团队，丰厚的经验。
Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to the Lake Cook Law Group.
投资理财、法律咨询，芝加哥专业律师团队为您的梦想提供最安全的保障。
Chinese channel, 小小张王, lesson 21. In this lesson, we will be learning these 6 Chinese characters. What's this? 久 means in a long time. 很久 means in a long time. 不久 means soon. 久 is the building block of these 2 characters. If we break this apart, move it a bit over here, this character is 见 欠 means to owe. 欠债 means in debt. Next, we will be learning a new root character. What's this? 马 means horse. 小马 is a pony. 马上 means right away. If we give this stroke a hook at the end and put a dot over here and a second dot in the middle, it turns into 鸟 means bird. 小鸟 is a small bird. If we remove the dot in the middle, it turns into 乌 means dark. 乌云 is dark clouds. Next, we'll be teaching a new root character. What's this? 女 means female. 女士 is a lady. 女人 is a woman. Okay, let's write. Remember when you're writing to follow the stroke sequence. 9欠 马 鸟 乌 女 Let's take a break. Bye-bye, the lesson.